Hi everyone. In this lesson, we will focus on the key POS code units that drive almost every transaction in LS Central POS. I will walk you through an end-to-end transaction flow explaining which code units are essential, what their roles are in the POS, and how they interact with each other. By the end of this session, you will clearly understand the POS transaction flow and how these code units can be used and extended to meet your business requirements. Let's start with a simple scenario. A cashier begins a transaction by clicking the item lookup button. When the cashier presses the item lookup button, a user interaction event is generated. This event is first captured by the EPOS controller. The EPOS controller acts as the entry point for all POS user interactions. The EPOS controller intercepts the button press event, converts it into a POS command, launches the item lookup process. As part of this process, the item POS data table is opened. The system loads a list of items for selection. Then the cashier selects one or more items, for example item 1 and 2, and clicks OK. At this point, the dataset utility retrieves the selected records. The selected data is passed back to the EPOS controller. Once the selection is confirmed, the EPOS controller forwards the selected items to the POS transaction code unit. The POS transaction code unit is the heart of the POS system. It creates the transaction lines, applies pricing logic, calculates discounts and loyalty, updates balances and totals. The POS transaction code unit works with POS session, POS data grid functions, and POS tags. These components update item lines in the transaction grid, update balances and totals, and displays item description and dynamic values. This completes the first phase of the transaction flow. Now let's say the customer decides they don't want one of the items. The cashier selects the item line and clicks void. Once again, a button press event is generated. The event is received by the EPOS controller. The EPOS controller routes the void command to the POS transaction code unit. The POS transaction code unit voids the selected line and recalculates totals and balances. The system again uses POS function, POS data grid, and transaction events. This updates the transaction grid, totals and balances, and POS UI state. Notice that the same sequence is repeated: ePOS controller, POS transaction events, POS session, and the POS data grid. This consistent flow is used for most POS transactions. Next, the cashier clicks total to proceed to payment. When total is selected, ePOS controller captures the event. POS transaction moves the transaction from sales mode to payment mode. As part of this transaction, POS session loads the payment menu and the POS view updates with the UI. You may notice the menu at the bottom of the POS screen changes. Totals and discounts are recalculated if required. The cashier selects a tender type, for example cash or card, and clicks OK. Once payment is confirmed, POS transaction code unit finalizes the sale. Data is posted to transaction tables such as transaction header, transaction sales, and other related tables. After posting, POS transaction events handle POS sales logic such as loyalty points, discounts, and promotions. At the same time, POS UI and hardware handlers manage receipt printing, cash drawer opening, peripheral interactions. And finally, POS session resets the transaction, the screen is cleared, and a new transaction number is generated. The PO is now again ready for the next customer. So let's summarize the POS code unit flow. If we step back, a clear pattern emerges. ePOS controller handles user interface and routes commands. POS transaction and transaction events, which executes the business logic. POS session, POS view, and POS data grid, which keeps the UI synchronized with backend changes. Hardware and UI handlers, which provides the real world feedback, which is the receipts, drawers, and displays. Once you understand this flow, extending or customizing POS behavior becomes much easier and faster. By mastering these core POS code units and their interactions, you gain the ability to customize POS behavior, add validations and features, extend transactions safely, and build upgrade friendly solutions.